Bitcoin hit a new all-time high over the past couple of days, and the reason for this, honestly, is not that shocking. We're going to get to that. And also, we're going to talk about the Supertrend indicator, which has now flipped to a buy, which is actually a pretty big deal. We're going to talk about the further adoption of Bitcoin with Citigroup and the Federal Reserve Board, their decisions, and how that's going to impact crypto. And then we're going to be talking about the Fear and Greed Index and the Exchange Reserve. So to start off with, Bitcoin went all the way up to about $124,000 on the 14th of August. And we had this sell indicator that I talked about last week. This sell indicator on the daily normally is more often than not correct. It just so happened that this time it did not work. And the reason why we have such a large increase in the Bitcoin price, which caused it to go higher than the sell line, which flips it over to a buy, is because we had a large number of short liquidations happen over the time span of a couple of days, especially with crypto. You have 300 million in crypto liquidations here, 260 here, about 200 million here, and that pushed the price a little bit higher. And as I had mentioned on that video, if you pushed above this 120 region, then you have a large pocket of liquidity just kind of sitting here, about 100 million here, 80 million here, 95 million here, large pockets of liquidity that if you pushed above 120K would actually cause a pretty significant rally. And we saw that actually happen on about the 13th of August. We saw all these little pockets of liquidity get taken out, and Bitcoin pushed to new all-time highs, which I said which is definitely possible, given the fact that if it rallies to that point, the short liquidations are going to drive it all the way up to a new all-time high. And then what you saw on the other side when Bitcoin fell from about that 124 region all the way down to where we are today and like about the 117, 116 region is that, again, you had a large amount of liquidity sitting on the opposite side. You had a large number of longs sitting here, and it basically went and took out all these longs, and the Bitcoin price went much lower. In fact, if you look at our liquidations here for crypto, you had $800 million worth of long liquidations in crypto. If you take a look at just Bitcoin, that was about $166 million worth of long liquidations. And so this is what also caused the massive candle that we saw of Bitcoin on that next day. So Bitcoin went down largely due to some other factors as well, macroeconomic factors, including tariff discussions and whether or not the Fed's going to be cutting interest rates. That being said, there's a lot to be hopeful for with Bitcoin, at least in the near term. We're still sitting at a buy rating on the daily, so normally, again, with the Supertrend indicator being right more often than wrong, would indicate that we're actually going much higher in the near term. And on top of that, you have some serious volatility coming at the end of the month. You have about $12 billion worth of Bitcoin options set to expire on the 29th of August. This has been one of the largest expiries that I've seen so far. Max paying price sitting at about $116,000. And this would generally mean that the price will try to gravitate towards that $116,000 region. But I think it's entirely possible that we'll exceed that. I think it's entirely possible that we'll see some major volatility before this options expiry at the end of the month, because it's just such a huge amount of Bitcoin set to expire on the 29th of August. Put to call ratio sitting at about 0.79. So I would say that that's more bearish than it usually is for the put to call ratio. But we'll see how things turn out. There's still a lot of time between now and the end of the month. One thing you'll notice here is there's a lot of on the bullish side. There's a lot of these options set to expire at a strike price of 120,000, and then here at 122,000, and then here at 124,000. So a large amount of longs just sitting in that region. So we could definitely wind up seeing Bitcoin make some serious fireworks by the end of the month. We have the volatility essentially to go and swing wildly in either direction. So make sure you keep that in mind. But currently, in the near term, within the next week or two, this buy Supertrend indicator would indicate that we are going higher. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, of course, is our So Value Bitcoin Spot ETF tracker. This has actually gone in the green for the second consecutive week, and this is largely, I think, a bullish indicator right now. The fact that we're actually almost back up to the peak of total net assets that we had before here. We're at about 151, almost $152 billion worth of total net assets, so that's actually fairly bullish. Next, the adoption story continues. You have Citigroup considering custody and payment services for stablecoin and crypto ETFs. Now, this is just another bank that's decided they've seen where the winds are blowing, and now they want to be part of the crypto ecosystem, and that means some more interest and potentially some more buyers for Bitcoin in the future. So this is another major bank that's considering this, and this is just one of many, basically, that are all considering this, and they will be, more often than not, you'll see most banks, I will say, will probably most likely be into crypto, into Bitcoin in the future. That's just the way the winds are blowing. That's the way the direction's heading. Everyone's interested right now in crypto and Bitcoin specifically. So, and this administration is a lot more friendly when it comes to crypto regulations. Speaking of which, the Federal Reserve Board also put out a press release on the 15th of August that said that they will sunset novel activities supervision program, return to monitoring banks' novel activities through the normal supervisory process. So essentially what this means is that they're looking specifically at crypto and fintech activities in banks, and they've decided that they're going to take a step back. Most likely what's going to happen here is they're not going to have as stringent rules and requirements when it comes to banks investing in crypto and fintech activities. So I think overall this is the first step into the Federal Reserve kind of cozying up to the idea of a crypto ecosystem and a Bitcoin ecosystem and being more friendly towards those ideas. This is exactly what you want to see, and this will eventually, I think this is the very start of the Federal Reserve potentially buying Bitcoin in the future. This is the very first step of what you would like to see. Now, we move on to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. This actually had gone to about a 31 or a fear on the 6th of August, and then we saw a very nice recovery up to where we are right now at 63, currently sitting at a greed. Even though we've seen the Bitcoin price come back down again, it's not at all-time highs, but it is still close to that all-time highs. This is kind of what you'd expect to see. Still kind of stuck in the greed category, and most likely we will see it continue to show strength over the next couple of days, over the next week, I would say. And then we look here to their Bitcoin Exchange Reserve, the number of Bitcoin on exchanges. We continue to see, yet again, that the number of Bitcoin on exchanges continues to shrink and shrink and shrink, and there's less now than there was a month ago. You can see here, a month ago, you can see where we are right now. And again, this is continued bullish activity for Bitcoin overall. So we have hit a little bit of volatility. Again, every time we see one of these liquidity flushes, I always think it's good for the market because, quite frankly, it flushes out the longs that are leveraged, it flushes out the shorts that are leveraged, and now you have a little bit less volatility in the near term at about a week or two. But remember, at the end of the month, you have that massive expiry that's going on, and that will move the price. But let me know what you guys are going to be doing. Let me know if you guys have been buying or selling, or maybe you want to talk about Ethereum instead of Bitcoin or some other crypto. Leave a comment below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.